As you can see, I've had one heck of a morning, starting out about 5:30 a.m. So watch the rest of the video to see how we got here. Alright, Otter Sectors fam, we're back today. And I wasn't intentionally making a video today, but it's too good to not. So basically, I'm going to run you through just a little bit of this. I'm going to do some commentary. I'm going to kind of chop this video up and put it throughout the video so that it has some clarification on what's going on, that sort of deal. And we'll kind of go from there. We'll play with this, a little bit of voiceover, because all the footage I got today is all off my security cameras, and so it wasn't something I was planning on filming, and I didn't grab a camera when I went out the door, but it got a little interesting for a minute, and I figured I'd let you guys in on it. So, you know, we have a salvage yard, and we have a towing company, but you know, with this nature of business, we tend to have some theft. We have some people that are out here and just either don't make good decisions, or, you know, feel like they can steal stuff. I mean, it's just kind of, I don't know, romanticized in the movies, I guess would be the best way of putting it. It's kind of, you know, the case today, kind of not. So basically what we had is at 5:20 or something like that this morning, I had a motion alert on my phone, and we have cameras all over the yard. You can't get within about 200 yards of the fence without being on a camera, at least one. And then if you're at the fence, you're on multiple cameras by that point. So I had a motion alert on one of my cameras, and most of the time it's nobody, you know, being a pain in the butt or nothing horrible. You know, people looking, people want to look through the fence, and I understand that, and I'll usually let it go. And if they cross the fence line, or if something happens, then I have to look into it further and do something about it. So about 5:20 a.m. I get a motion alert, 5:17, something like that. Pull up my phone, and they went down on our private property that's outside the fence, but it's still a private road. They went down and turned around and come back. And I'm like, I mean, it's not a big deal. I mean, every now and then I get people that ignore it. They didn't spend very much time down there. So, you know, I wasn't too terribly worried about it. But I heard him pull up out front, and I heard him drive away. And when people start acting funny, then that's when it gets my attention a little more than average. So I figured, well, it's worthwhile to pull up the cameras and start looking at the cameras, see who's who and where's where. And so basically, I got up, I pulled up the cameras, and I seen the Dodge was parked right in front of our west lot, which is where the towed vehicles come in. It's where we put all the vehicles that we've just towed in from, like, for the salvage yard, that sort of deal. It's not out of the ordinary for people to park out front. So guys, I got this sped up in the interest of time, you know. And basically what you can see here is he gets out of the truck, the girl's driving, and they see the car. And so, you know, he comes over, he looks at the gate, and on the edge of the gate there's a piece of wire mesh that he could break to get in. And he goes back, it looks like he asks her, and she tells him to go in there, is what his story was. She told him to. But as you can see, he comes back, he fiddles with the wire mesh that's alongside the gate, and breaks it, and then comes inside the lot. You can also see her leave, and she goes up and drives up and down the road and doesn't spend a lot of time there while he's out doing the stuff to get the stuff out of the vehicle. As you can see what he's doing right here. So what you see is after she drops him off and he heads through the gate, she backs up, and she's just driving around. And I'm still not sure exactly what the deal is. I never did see her in person, and I never did get to talk to her or any of that stuff. So I don't know. I assume she's probably, you know, messed up on drugs like him. You can see here that she spent some time, a good amount of time, driving up and down the road. it was definitely more exciting than watching him, because we couldn't really see much of him after he got out of the trunk there, and he was inside the car moving stuff out of the car. So I decided to spend a little time with watching her because it was so amusing to see. And she heads down the road, and this is in real speed, and so she's not going very fast. And coming up here, I'll speed it up, and then this is about 3 times as fast as what it is. And what you'll see is she'll head down the road here and pull it down at the end of the yard, and then fairly quickly she'll turn around and head back, and then go past the yard. And I don't know if she's scouting or if she's watching for cops or what she's doing exactly, but it's interesting. It doesn't make a lot of sense to me, but I guess people don't usually make much sense anyways. But here she is coming back down in front of the yard here, and this is over the period of about I'd say probably 15 minutes or so. And at this point, we're in real speed again for a little bit here, because I just kind of wanted to give you a reference. Basically, she drives past, the yard and the lot and everything again, and she goes down, quite, probably half mile past the yard, probably about the same distance that the end of the yard is away from the gate there. And this is sped back up again. She goes down here to what we call the covert, which is probably about a quarter mile down, and she turns around. And I don't know. I mean, honestly, I don't know what she's doing other than drawing a whole bunch of attention to herself. For doing something illegal and being part of something illegal. She sure didn't keep a very low profile, but I guess we don't catch the smart ones, do we? So here she comes back through, and then she bypasses the lot again. I kind of figured she'd be like loading stuff in the truck or something. But I guess not. I mean, I never see her get out of the truck. We never see her put anything in the truck. I would imagine a lot of the stuff out of the guy's pockets later on in the video may have been stuff out of the car too. I was kind of getting over this whole driving around trip while this girl's driving around over the last 15 minutes or so, and trying to figure out what she's doing, because she's just driving around in circles pretty much. And this seems to be the last loop she does. Well, it's definitely the last loop she does, because we can see it on the video here. She heads out, and she goes farther past. She probably goes close to a mile down, and then comes back, and then pulls in. I didn't see no movement around the truck when I pulled it up on the cameras, but I hadn't looked back on the history either. All I could see was that, where it was parked. And nobody looked like they were moving around at that point. So I take a walk, I get up, and I do have a concealed carry, we've talked about this a little bit on the other videos, and I do pack it with me all the time. Being 12 miles from town, being in Wyoming where most people have guns, it's not out of the ordinary to pack a self-defense gun. Being 12 miles from town, the response time for police department is slow. People feel like they can get away with more stuff because we are so isolated. So it is a good idea for us to pack, some way to defend ourselves. I don't want to call the cops every time, somebody parks out front of my business, because that's not a real thing. I can't legit do that, because there's no good reason to. So as you can see, I'm down here walking, and I'm just kind of strolling around, keeping an eye on that Dodge. And I'm looking at that blue car, or trying to look for that blue car a little bit, but I don't see him moving. I don't see anybody there. I'm not aware that he's even there. As I look right here, I start to see movement, and you'll see me, I'll just kind of snap to real quick, and there I go. I see the guy's in there, and so I'm like, I need to handle this and see if I can take care of this. And so, basically I go over there and I challenge him and tell him to get down on the ground, and that he needs to stay still, and we need to figure out what's going on. But I have to treat him, kind of like he could have a gun, and I don't know what's going. I don't know the situation, and so it's better to err on the side of caution in this whole deal. It's kind of crazy to think about, to go through, but during all this, I'm just trying to make sure that he's not going to shoot me, because I was out in the open and I hadn't seen him. I didn't know if he'd seen me. I didn't know what was going on. And so at this point, he's, we're going back and forth about this whole deal, and I'm telling him he needs to calm down and get down and stop moving around, because he's jumping all over the place. He's definitely on some drugs. And so basically I'm just telling him to stay back, keep his distance, trying to keep him at a safe distance from me. But as he's being on drugs and he's really acting really unpredictable, and so it had me pretty nervous. And so as you see, I keep backing up, and I have my carry pistol and it is pointing down. At this point I've kind of relaxed a little bit and decided to put it away because he's calming down, and I see he's not really a threat at this point. And then now I'm calling the police to come out and handle this situation. Sweetwater County Sheriff's Department does really, really well, and I'm really, really happy with their service. They do great. The deputies are amazing. And so at this point we're just kind of talking and I'm trying to figure out the situation, trying to see what's going on, why he's in the lot at 5:30 in the morning, and trying to get him to kind of hold still, because as you can see he's moving around quite a bit, which is definitely making me nervous. I've had guys try and run me over. I've had guys throw stuff at me. I've had guys pull weapons on me. It's one of them things where you got to be extra cautious. And at this point, I'm still on high alert, but I'm less on alert at this point, because I realize that the odds of him having some sort of gun he can shoot me with, I'm not going to let him close enough to get me with a knife or get a hold of me. And you watch during this situation that I'm very cautious about keeping my distance from him. I take a defensive position so that he can, he feels a little more comfortable, and I feel a little more comfortable. He just wants to get out of there. He was going to try and run, and I found in the past that if I let them go, then nothing ever happens to him. The police department doesn't catch him, even if I got plates and all this other stuff. So it's way better if I just use my power of citizen's arrest, and I arrest him, and then I call for the sheriff, or the police, or the sheriff's department, and then they'll take him from there. It was a little tense for a few seconds there, and I don't it wasn't the best thing, I'll tell you that, but it worked out really well. I was extra cautious, and I definitely would have cut and run if I would have had to. I was kind of at a disadvantage because I didn't realize somebody would be in the lot, and I didn't really think about it because it rarely happens. I mean, it's I can count on one hand the number of times that I've had this happen. And basically, you're just kind of walking through. I was more worried about the dodge because I figured, well, maybe somebody's out there sleeping or whatever. I just wanted to get a closer look at it. I really didn't cross my mind that somebody was actually going to be in the lot. And I kind of put myself in a bad situation because I was right out there in the open. And, it made it really dangerous for me. And it was kind of dumb to let my guard down enough to put myself in a situation where if he did have a gun, I would have been a really easy target. Looking back on it, I think I handled it pretty well, and I think he handled it pretty well, and I think everybody's come out okay. So here we go with a little bit more of it. We just did a lot of talking. I told him he probably should lay off the drugs, some of that stuff. In the process of this, the girlfriend, or the girl that was in his truck, she up and leaves and leaves him here. And I'm like, well, where's she going? He's like, oh, she's headed out of here. She ain't coming back. And I'm like, well, she just took your truck and left? And he's like, yeah, she did. She just took my truck and left. While we're standing here waiting for the police department to get here. I kind of suspect there was probably drugs in the truck, or she had a warrant, or something to that effect, where she didn't want to deal with the cops, and it was worth it for her to take the truck and run. There wasn't cops there at the time, so she really didn't run from the cops. She just left her companion there to deal with whatever problem that they got themselves into. He was a really nice guy. He definitely had a drug problem. I wish that he gets help, and I think we parted on pretty good terms. But we just had a pretty good discussion here, and told him, you're gonna stay still and just hang out here, wait for the police to get here, and everything will be happy. He didn't really hold still that well, but I assume that's just being on drugs. And so basically, I kept taking defense. I'd take a step back if he'd take a step up. I didn't want to let him leave, but I also didn't want to give my life because of something stupid. So we'll go back to the video. I'll kind of speed it up a little bit, and then we'll go from there on what happens when the sheriff's department gets there. So at this point, they'd went over and I think they'd run his name and got his information, and they were just coming back from their patrol car, and they were asking him how he got into the lot, and he said that he'd went, pulled that piece off, and so I figured I'd go look and see, if he damaged the gate or what kind of damage he'd done, and I think they decided at this point that it's time to arrest him, and he got arrested for criminal trespass, and it wasn't too big of a deal. He was pretty good about it. So at this point, they start searching him and check his pockets, make sure he doesn't have no weapons or drugs or whatever on him. And it's kind of like a clown car, because this dude had so much stuff in his pockets. It was unbelievable. And as you can see, the officers, they keep looking and they keep pulling more stuff and more stuff and more stuff. And the one officer, they kind of give up trying to hold it at this point, and so he goes and grabs a bag and he has to come back with a brown paper sack to put all the guy's belongings in, because this guy had everything in his pockets. It was, I don't know, it was tons of stuff in his pockets, but he had a lot of stuff, like more than I probably have in my car, he had in his pockets. And as you watch it, you can see how much stuff they take out and put in the bag. It was a ton of stuff. The other interesting fact, and you'll see here, is he had a pocket knife on him. And basically, he asked if I could put it in the car, and then he could come get it when he come to get the belongings out of the car after he got out of jail. And I said, that's no problem. And so you can see them keep handing me pocket knives. And so by the time it was all said and done, I had about 5 or 6 pocket knives that this guy had on him. And I had to go take them back and put them in the car with the rest of the belongings that he'll come get later. So guys, that pretty much wraps up my eventful day, I guess would be the best way of putting it. Our life is chaotic, and this is, one like this is kind of out of the ordinary, but as crazy as it is, chasing people down and doing this kind of stuff is not as out of the ordinary as you would think it would be. With this business being this remote located, you definitely have to go chase people down, confront people, kick people out, that sort of stuff. And honestly, the crazy part of the situation is when I went home and told my daughters that we had a guy in the law and we got him arrested and we did that stuff. You'd think that would be like an event that they would be interested in, but they're like, whatever, And it's become kind of common, and it's not that common around here, but the situation like this, or somebody stealing stuff out of a car, or catching somebody stealing stuff out of a car, or that sort of deal is, it kind of sticks with you. And after you've seen it 4 or 5 times in the last 4 or 5 years, you kind of get used to it, as crazy as that is. But, I wasn't too worried about it. The guy, he's going to go to jail. He's going to have to go pay his bond or his fine or whatever. They'll get to come back, him and the girl, I would assume, and get the belongings out of the car the right way. And I'm good with that. I didn't even trespass order him, so he couldn't come back. I have no problem if he comes back as long as he does it the right way, and that's exactly what I told him. It's just a person that made, a decent guy. He made some bad decisions in life with drugs and today. Hopefully he learned something, and he needs to be careful, especially around Wyoming. I would say most people are good, and like we talked about this in the other videos, but you don't want to run into a bad one. So for for all that it was, I think I'm pretty happy with the outcome and how everything worked. You know, I think it all worked out good. We left on good terms. The sheriff's department did amazing. I really couldn't ask for much more. And so basically, you know, I think that's about it for today. So thanks for watching.